Hi everybody, today we're celebrating the International Day of Sign Languages. My name is Kerry and I'm the Cultural Diversity Coordinator here at the Royal Melbourne Hospital, and I'm joined here today with some colleagues.
Hello everyone, my name is Kathy and I'm a pathologist here at the Royal Melbourne Hospital. Hello everyone, my name is Maxine Buxton and I'm the General Manager at Deaf Victoria. We're an advocacy organisation for the deaf community in Victoria. Hello everyone, my name's Catherine Dunn, and like Maxine, I work here at Deaf Victoria, and my role is an advocacy officer.
Welcome everybody. Before we begin today, I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we're all present today. And for me, this is the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded. So today is the International Day of Sign Languages. Is that right? What does this mean for everybody? Kathy?
That's right. It's a special celebration all over the world, appreciating our sign language and feeling proud about our national sign language on the 23rd of September. Likewise, as a deaf person, Kerry, I'm really pleased to have that international recognition of my language on the 23rd of September, when we celebrate the International Day of Sign Languages. But that day actually falls within this whole week of celebrations, the last week of September, and this week is also the International Week of Deaf People. So another international recognition of it, acknowledging our culture throughout the week, as well as our language on the 23rd of September. And I think it's worthwhile to add, if I can, the International Day relates to all different national sign languages of the world, because there isn't one sign language. In Australia, we have our own sign language. Different countries have their own sign languages too.
And how do you celebrate the International Day of Sign Languages? Catherine?
Thanks, Kerry. As a deaf person, this week and this day in particular has special significance for me. I like to reflect upon our deaf leaders, our advocates, what they've done for the community, our language and our culture, and how I celebrate it in different ways. I meet up with deaf friends, deaf people in the community, maintain those social connections. There are also different events. We have an opportunity to meet together. But with coronavirus, it hasn't stopped us. We just find different ways of meeting, not in person face-to-face, but online. Again, just maintaining our culture and our language. And recently, I bought a book called Earshot. And that book was authored by a deaf photographer. And her name is Katie Q. It's a great book. I'm looking forward to reading it this week. And for me, I'm not a deaf person myself, Kerry, but still I feel privileged that I'm able to be involved in the deaf community. People have taught me their language, their culture, and welcomed me in to their world and community. And that really is an awesome opportunity and experience. I've benefited so much throughout my life. This week for me means so many different things. Like Catherine said earlier on, we can't come together on site in person, face to face, but there's lots of things happening online, a whole range of activities and events. There are performances, shows, presentations. There's so much happening. And for the broader community, it's an opportunity to sit back and just take in what's going on and to learn. Because the deaf community has so much that they can teach the wider community here in Victoria. There's just so much information, lots of good things happening. So just enjoy it. It's great. I wish every week could be like this week.
Great. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Maxine. So I was wondering, what can people do in healthcare to make deaf people feel welcome across the year, other than just today?
Well, Kerry, today being the International Day of Sign Languages, we want to recognise the diversity in our community. We're not all the same, are we? It's wonderful to see Australian Sign Language happening here, but some deaf people don't use sign language. They may speak and lip read. People have different ways of communicating. So this week, it's about acknowledging and celebrating our culture and language, but ongoing throughout the year, ensuring that deaf people have access and feel welcome. Number one, ask them. It's not one size fits all. So if someone in the healthcare sector meets the deaf person, ask them what they need and then follow their lead. We understand that it can be very stressful working in healthcare too. So you may have an Auslan interpreter at different appointments, or writing notes, or live captioning. But the key really is to ask that deaf person what they need. I think you're right there, Catherine. It comes back to working together. So the deaf community working with the health professionals, including at the Royal Melbourne Hospital. So if you were to meet a patient who is deaf, just remember that the different communication channels are, as an interpreter, they may prefer to lip read, read and write paper. If you're having a mask that prevents lip reading, that's not transparent, think about that, or doctors or nurses or other health professionals, just ensure that the deaf person really has full access to their health, their needs, the service, and they understand communication options as well as those health options you're putting forward to them. Because I know that with informed consent, it's critical there that a deaf person really has that, so they can give that to you. So ask the deaf person what they need in terms of communication supports, whether it's lip reading, writing, speaking, or signing, or an Auslan interpreter. Feel free to contact us at Deaf Victoria. We're more than happy to provide that information, supports to yourself, whether it's regards to captioning service providers or interpreting service providers or other supports. Please, we know that people don't know everything. It's impossible to do that, but you know what you know, and we're here to support you be able to do your job. And you know what? I think it's wonderful in future if we had more deaf people working in the health professions, like Kathy, for example, at the Royal Melbourne Hospital. Kathy, I think it's phenomenal that you're working at the Royal Melbourne Hospital. Tell us a little about yourself. Sure, thanks, Maxine. I work in pathology and I do testing with people. And I love my job here at the Royal Melbourne Hospital. It's different every day. And I like to make patients happy when I'm taking their blood tests, do it one go cleanly and not have to go back a second time. And when a deaf person comes in and sees me and I can sign, they are literally elated because there's no communication stress, barriers at all. It's just a conversation like anyone else would have when they speak to another person in their language. Deaf people feel really happy and comfortable to come in. And that's important for us to ensure that our patients are happy and comfortable when they come into the hospital and don't have any type of barriers. So doctors and nurses, just be aware of what the patient requires. In this case, if they're deaf, may write to them first of all, how would you like me to communicate with you? Ask that question and then follow their lead. Simple as that. And would you like to encourage more deaf people to work in the health profession? Kathy? Yes, why not? The more the better.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. And I'd just like to say thanks to everybody involved in making this session happen today. So Kathy here at the Royal Melbourne, and Maxine and Catherine from Deaf Victoria, and also Paul, our Auslan interpreter, helping us today. So thank you all very much, and happy International Sign Language Day.
Great. Happy International Sign Language Day, everyone. Happy International Sign Language Day. Thank you so very much, everyone. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.